Phil Phails. Whoa, Phil Phails. Welcome to Phil Phails. My name is Philip Jones, and today my guest is John Spottswood Moore, returning to the show for Phil Phails at Following Up. Wave to everybody, John. John Spots Moore Wood. Wait, John's Spottswood Moore.
More John Spots.
More John Spots Wood, filmmaker, professor, and we're going to talk today about how to fail at following up with a guest. John is a professor of film. He also is working right now on a documentary film, and he's obsessing about Denzel Washington.
Yeah. That third one's a new development.
Yeah, it's part of his neurodivergent, shiny thing.
Absolutely, buddy.
We neurodivergent people, we find some shiny thing and we go deep in the rabbit hole. We go as deep into the rabbit hole
I
as we
live
can.
for those rabbit holes, man. I love my rabbit holes.
So you've watched a couple Denzel Washington.
Oh, I've watched in the last 48 hours, I've watched 5 or 6. Yeah, it's been I can only do that when I have I've given myself a couple of days off from editing just to refresh my brain. That's the only time I could ever do that. I would never I would never do that in my day-to-day, but I had a couple days off and it just clicked and I was like, well, I guess I'm just staying home and doing this.
Do we know what happened to Denzel? Did he not pay taxes or something?
I think he's done. I don't think he's fallen into that hole that I know of. I'm not really sure.
He kind of fell out of the Hollywood scene, right? He doesn't.
I don't think Denzel Washington has. I think he's still pretty active.
Who did that?
Wesley
Snipes
did that.
Right.
Yeah, which was very interesting. Yeah, he actually went to prison. Wesley Snipes just in prison. Yeah.
Why did they put Wesley Snipes in prison?
It was a whole bunch of tax evasion, but it's just interesting to put somebody for tax evasion into prison with murderers and rapists and stuff like that. I feel like if it was somebody who there's a guy named Jack Abramoff who stole millions and millions and millions of dollars from Native American reservations, throw that guy in prison. I'm fine with that. But if Wesley Snipes doesn't pay back taxes, I mean, I don't know. There has to be some compromise between,
Well, Wesley Snipes is he's a man of the theater.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't think we'd put man of the theater into prison like that for not paying taxes. But at the same time, comically speaking, he's black man, so he's a super predator. Anything he does, right to the slammer.
So you mean just kind of you're just speaking in the eyes of our current system, just kind of what they do?
Yeah, I'm not speaking. Yeah,
I don't think you're speaking from your own point of view.
That's comedy. That's comedy, and I'm really just ugh. Why would we put? But I don't know the case. I don't know what Wesley Snipes did, but I don't think putting a theologian in.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And also,
theologian is theology. What do you call a man of the theater? Or a person who's
a thespian?
Thespian. I don't think we put thespians in jail.
It's one of those things too, where it's if it's an issue of money in this case, then I feel like that money can simply be paid back, even with interest, which you would have to do anyway. And also, I don't know. And I'm not trying to say that anybody's above the law and being sent to prison, but there has to be a balance.
Well, I think right now we have a current topical situation where a man who has to pay a lot of money back is trying to figure out how to pay it back and whether or not he's going to pay it back.
A certain man, yeah, that certain man.
A certain orange.
At the center of 1 out of every 3 conversations you're going to hear. Yeah.
Well, the man who shall not be named.
Oh my God.
Will he pay back the money?
Who I actually think is a worse villain than Voldemort. But yeah, that's just me. Yeah.
Calling in Voldemort in here. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Phil Phails at Following Up. 5 questions. How does someone fail at following up with a guest on a show like this?
Well, I think it's all comes. I mean, I don't. So you've got something on me here because I've never done a podcast like this where I've done multiple things. You have a very interesting and awesome format. For me, I guess it would just be a matter of research, I suppose, right? If somebody comes in and you're like, wait a minute, was it did we? I mean, you're a football player, right? Is that what we talked about? You know what I'm saying?
To like have no memory of what you discussed before.
And you ask them the same questions, but not to follow up because you forgot that you asked them the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it wouldn't be bad to have them repeat certain things, but I think that also I feel like it has to like, grow off of the first one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I kind of feel like with the follow up. With the first one, we did Phil Phails at content creation.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did a really deep dive with who you are, your childhood, the things that
Absolutely.
made you, from going into kind of psych wards and all kind of the things that you're fighting, being, coming up in martial arts, all of those things, the things that defined you, and the way that you explored all of that through movies.
Mm-hmm.
And we went deep with John Moore.
Mm-hmm.
This time we won't do that again. I have all that imprinted. I have like a John Spottswood Moore imprint, a house of John in my
You've read
brain.
the wiki.
And so now we go from there to developing, I think, a relationship
Absolutely.
between the two of us.
Absolutely.
And that's
definitely.
like it happens on display.
It happens. Yes, that's right. We live in public. That's awesome.
Because we haven't really hung out since that interview. I've called you a handful of times and been like, let's talk. And you're a busy man.
A lot of that is me, and trust me, and I promise you, in 6 months' time, I'm going to be the most available person for all my endeavors in the world. It's this final crunch with this effing movie that is just the thing where it's just like, from this day to this day, everything is just so regimented.
Say the name of the movie.
When We Were Live.
It is a movie about Austin Public.
It's a movie. Well, yeah. So it's interesting because I always call it ACTV because it was ACTV for about 30 years, almost, or maybe about 25
Austin
years.
Public is a rebrand.
It's changed name. I guess you could say rebrand. It's changed names over time. It's always been the same. It's always been the same entity. That's not changing. And for the last 30 something years, it's 34 years, it's also been the same building, hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally just, like for example, it's no longer Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's literally called KFC. And KFC stands for nothing now.
So
It's just the same thing.
ACTV stand for Austin
Community television.
Community Television.
Which you can understand in our current age why they would want to change that. And they slowly did. In the late 90s, it was Austin Community Access Center because they were starting to branch out into like internet stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, Channel Austin for a while. It was called Pact for a while. And I think Austin Public is the best thing you can do. That way the name lends itself to like all these different avenues of distribution, not just cable channel, whatever.
When We Were Live.
When We Were Live.
And its release date tentatively is set for...
Well, the thing is, though, it's interesting with the film world. The whole thing is, so our finish date that we'd like to, and I have said this on many shows over the years, is our tentative thing that we'd like to be done with it or getting very close by like August or so. But that doesn't mean that's when it's released, because what you do is you finish your film, and then there's kind of a waiting game with festivals where August is pretty much the down and dirty submission period.
So then you submit this film to a bunch of different festivals.
And then you go and just twiddle your thumbs
to see which one you get into.
Yeah, and it's with ours, it's really good. Like, there's South by we'd like to do. I mean, another big one that I love, and I don't even know if the finished product's going to be a fit for them, but I adore the concept of Fantastic Fest. I think it's awesome. The Alamo Drafthouse's film festival.
Isn't the Alamo Drafthouse selling?
So they're not selling, like they're not going under as an entity. I think they're getting rid of a bunch of their franchises.
A couple theaters.
I think so, which, I mean, no offense to Staten Island. I love Wu-Tang Clan, but like, I don't understand. Like the Alamo Drafthouse just seems like such a Texas thing to me. That like it's weird for me to think about going to Staten Island and going to an Alamo Drafthouse or...
I didn't know they had an Alamo Drafthouse.
They do. Brooklyn, oh my God, if you can go onto the website, you can see it's so many different places.
They franchised it.
I think a lot of those franchises, I think that what they're doing is they're shutting down a bunch of franchises so they can still keep like Fantastic Fest and their Neon, I believe is their distribution thing for actual films. I think that they want to hang on to those instead. Yeah.
So first question, how to fail at follow-ups. The answer that I heard was maybe not recalling or not, you
Yeah.
said research, not really tying a through line from the original interview to the second one. So we're not developing anything. We're just kind of trotting over, the same path and the
Yeah.
same material as opposed to adding new material, adding new information.
There's no crescendo. There's no rising action if you just rehash the
Yeah.
same stuff, unless there's something building on that, It's that 3-act structure, or that you want.
3-act structure. Okay. So we're going to definitely have new material in this one, and we're gonna do some acts. We're gonna do some
Yes.
3 acts. Second question: how do you think we could succeed at a follow up? What do you think would make a successful follow up?
Well, I mean, any opportunity we have to pick up what's happened since the last one, I
Yeah.
think is always a really
Yes.
good idea.
New.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and also, like, because the present is always changing. How much of your hopes for the future you want to dive into is
Mm-hmm.
is that's something that can be sprinkled across all of them. But focusing on basically new questions, new focuses, I think,
New
and
stuff. Hopes for future. New questions. New focuses.
even from day to day and week to week, we change some of our motivations and our views. So like, I mean, just, as keeping it current, I think is another good
Life
thing.
is impermanence.
Oh, yes,
Everything
definitely.
changes all the time. This moment dies
Mhm.
and springs gives birth to this moment now.
Absolutely.
New stuff, hopes for the future, new focuses. And I think that goes both ways. Like,
Mhm.
what is John Moore up to? What has he done since the last time we talked? Also, how can you kind of speak to the things that I've been up to and give me advice and mentorship?
Ooh, wow. Mentorship, that's hard. You've been a lot more active in content creation than I think I have, man. But I'm trying to so when was the last time we talked? How long ago was that?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You're gonna make me look at
Let's
something.
come up with something imaginary. Let's say 6 weeks.
I think it's been more than well,
Oh.
maybe 6 weeks, maybe a little bit more, something like that.
Um,
I've done I've done 27 or so interviews.
holy crap.
I've done 3 Phil's at philosophy on top of that. So I probably have less than 35 of these shot.
Phil,
Somewhere around 35, 36.
this is insane, man. I mean, when you told me that there's a book that my partner got me that's called Everyone Has a Podcast Except You.
Uh-huh.
and And so when you told me you were gonna do a podcast, I knew you were a bright guy. And so I knew it was gonna be okay, but I am beyond impressed. I am floored by how much you've put into this. I'm looking at your notebook that just looks like a novel and all of this stuff, your constant improvement. This is phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
this is really, really, really good. I'm genuinely impressed.
I haven't released anything yet though.
I'm sure it's gonna be fine,
I
man.
mean, the first ones are gonna be a little rough, and I think we'll talk about this when we get done with the questions. I want to write this
Oh,
down.
yeah, no
Talk to
problem.
him about release stuff. Okay. Third question is, what new stuff have you been up to?
Well, it's interesting. In the last couple of weeks, I went to see a snoring specialist. And what happened was, I've been snoring since I was literally a teenager. When I was in college, my freshman year, a guy that I lived with basically tried desperately to get a new roommate because I snored, which I hated. And I don't think he was mad at me per se for that, but it was an unfortunate situation. And it sucks when you go to bed, you're unconscious, you wake up and somebody hates you. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
And also, so your sleep is making folks feel a lot of frustration.
Yes, which I don't want anyone to feel.
And it seems like, isn't snoring like your sleep's way of killing you? It's like
Kind of.
trying to kill you a little
It's
bit. It's like
killing you through lack of
choking you.
oxygen.
Yeah, it's like,
I have sleep apnea, and what that means is literally, and my partner and past partners I've had have told me this, in the middle of the night, I wake up and go, like, you know what I'm saying?
gasping for air.
Gasping for air. Like it's really, and so it is something, and I have a CPAP machine now, and it works to fix that, but it's really uncomfortable. So I've been seeing this sinus specialist, and the guy is absolutely amazing. He immediately looked at an x-ray of my sinuses and he was like, "Oh, when you sleep, by the way, do you find that you have like postnasal drip?" And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, that's because of this. Hasn't been happening all my life. He's like, do you do this? And I'm like, yes. Oh, it's because of this. And he just solved like 5 of my life problems in one go. It was insane. The only problem has been, and this is not him, it's more me, is that there are a couple ways that you can fix what's going on. One is actually through a surgery that's very, very quick, which I might end up
Get a
doing.
nose job.
It's basically like that. It's like an inner nose job a little bit. The other thing is it's a series of medications that kind of clears up your sinuses, but
Mhm.
that's really been screwing with me. The
Mm.
first one I took was a 6-day steroid pack, which, not muscle steroid, but it makes you like, and it literally like induced anxiety in me. Like to the point where I didn't want to leave my house. And I'm not that type of anxious. I'm not socially anxious. I don't get like
It turns you into a agoraphobic.
it basically did, and it also made me like a bundle of nerves, which is something I don't have. I don't have a problem with like public speaking. I don't have a problem with any of that. And it gave me that for a couple of days, which really, really was an interesting test in empathy because it made me realize the hell that some people must go through if they actually have like bundle of nerves anxiety. Like,
New stuff equals kind of focusing some attention on your health, your physical health, and that took you to a snoring specialist, and you're trying to dial in your schnoz.
exactly, and the other thing is he gave me this nasal spray, and it's really, really, really powerful. You actually keep it in a brown bag because it's light sensitive.
Whoa.
I know it's crazy. I've used it for only a couple of days now because I wanted to wait until that other crap was out of my system, and I feel the biggest pressure, like, right here, and I don't know if that's something that I get used to after a couple days, but I don't wanna wait to find out. It's giving me just, like, a headache.
Oh my
So
God.
so it's that's but that's the downside to everything. The upside is, I'm working very well with my unbelievable producer on kind of slowly making headway again with my film. We're
Mm-hmm.
really doing well, which is the most important thing. Um, you know, my partner went to she got invited to go to a conference to attend a conference through her job at Stanford. So she flew to Palo Alto for a couple of days, and I decided while she was gone to just take a little break from editing because
And watch all the Denzel
and for
Washington movies.
some reason, man, for some reason, it turned into a Denzel Washington phase. And this has been a hardcore rabbit hole. I've been watching interviews with him. It's going to pass.
What do you think about Denzel Washington now?
Well, in a nutshell, I've always thought that he was a genius. Like,
Training Day.
I think that he's a genius.
Phenomenal film.
I think he's a genius, and the thing is, when I was in college, I took a ton of theater classes. I had this theater professor that really loved me, who was like a method trained actor, and I took a bunch of classes with her, and I fell in love with theater, and I learned very quickly that there are really 2 types of actors, okay? There are actors, that I really think it's vanity, and they like being which is fine.
Yeah.
There are lots of people that do that, and, and it's a very common thing now for Common is an example of this, where it's an a musician who, becomes an actor and dips their toes in that water. They're just an entertainer, and then you have the Meryl Streeps, the Daniel Day-Lewises, the Denzel Washingtons, the Jeffrey Wrights, the people that are actually, like, theater-trained craftsmen and craftswomen.
They're thespians.
They're thespians. Those are the people they are no different than a classically trained painter or ballet dancer. You know what I'm saying? They treat it with that same level of craft and specialty that just blows you away. And so for me, it's watching Denzel Washington act or Meryl Streep act. It's no different than watching like Philip Glass compose or something. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's a master at their craft. And when you really see that, I think with Denzel Washington, you just see him and also he owns, I believe, the entirety of all of August Wilson's plays, and he's slowly turning them into very well-produced movies. He did Fences, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. His daughter is directing The Piano Lesson. So I just have so much respect for that because a couple times in my life, I've been around actual actors that they live and breathe that trade where their body is their paintbrush, their body is their instrument, and they're able to just transform. And they're also able to tap into some sort of you know, public consciousness and public sense of empathy where anyone can watch them and somehow they can tap into our humanity and like we relate to this person we've never met before
Yeah, I
who might
love
even
that.
be fictional, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Question 4, any hopes for the future? Oh, I'm going through question 2. The
absolutely,
things we
absolutely.
gotta what are your hopes for the future?
What are my hopes for the future? Well, my big hope is again by the end of the summer. I'm only teaching one class this summer. Is by the end of the summer, I'd love to be 100% finished with my film. If we're talking about the immediate future,
Finished with When We Were
when
Live.
we were live, and even not necessarily finished, but just be to the point where it's in the can and we can start to worry just about distribution and stuff like that.
WWWL.
WWWL, which is how I label pretty much all of my editing files. I label them
WWWL.
WWWL underscore the date underscore my initials. Yeah.
When We Were Live.
When we were live. Yeah,
100% finished. That's your focus for August. If
that's
you
my
need a support buddy,
yeah.
if you need, because us neurodivergents, we need body, what do they call it? Body doubles.
Yeah.
We also need like, and I think I reached out to you and I said, hey, bro, do you want to edit with me? Because I wanted someone to edit to you. You said, I'm a lone wolf.
Well, no, I can do that
I'm
sometimes.
an
It's
editing
just that
wolf. That's
it's
what
just that it's I do that. I can do that sometimes, and I have done that in the past. It's just that in this, I'm so sporadic.
you
with
can
my-
be a lone wolf.
Yeah.
It's not bad to these people. They're not going to be like, John, how dare you?
How dare
Phil asked you to edit with him,
I go outside
and you said no. John's a
Speaking
lone
of
wolf,
training day, yeah.
and that's okay. None of you guys shame him.
Well, it's interesting because I am and I'm not. I'm a lone wolf when it's actually my hands on the keyboard. I'm very much not a lone wolf when I work with my producer because she's really like a co-writer
Yeah.
where she's the person who the two of us work together tirelessly to structure this thing, to find a way to take a handful of people that really don't have that much in common other than they were producers and tell a cohesive story.
Yeah, make a through line.
Where we weave in and out of them, which is very difficult. Also, they existed in different decades.
Yeah.
One was in the 80s, one was in the 90s, one was in like the very, very early 80s.
I think what I've come to learn or find out is that I want folks around co-working around
Mhm.
me. I don't want to be alone working and editing by
Mhm.
myself. And I thought maybe I'll just go start editing up at Austin Public.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna start asking everybody I know that's a producer that's editing something and say like, hey, you want to edit together? You want to be just in the same room editing? I don't need you to edit my stuff. I won't even bother you. I just want to hear footprints and keyboard strokes and like
Yeah.
feel like I'm not alone in it.
Well,
I asked Tyrone, who's doing
Oh, yeah. Big Daddy G.
well, he's also doing a documentary on Austin Film Society.
Oh, cool.
He's editing that, and every time he tells me, I ask him, "Oh, is that the same thing as your thing?"
No, it's completely different.
Because yours is Austin Public.
Austin, it's a subsidiary of Austin Film Society. It's completely different things. Also, mine is a lot more character driven
Yeah.
than it is like every single thing that happened, one after another. We touch on those things. Yeah, it's a completely different thing. And that's crazy that he's doing the thing on AFS. That's
And Tyrone is also a lone wolf. He was like, "No, I edit alone, bro. Much love to
I'd
you."
love to see what he's doing because AFS, Austin Public is really just one facet of that. I've gotten 2 AFS grants. I was a part of their documentary kind of fellowship. I've done so many things.
I want to get involved with some of that stuff
Oh,
for
it's
the
it's
TV
it's
show.
so incredible,
I
buddy.
want to get like some backing or some kind of like support because
I'm going to tell you right now, AFS, say what you will about the film industry here. The film community here is insane. It
okay.
is
5th
great.
question: what do you think about AFS?
What do I think about AFS? AFS is one of my favorite entities on the face of the earth. Like anytime I can, I try to go see a movie at AFS rather than anywhere else. If I'm going to go see Dune, I'm probably going to go to the Draft House. But for example, I really want to go see Problemista, which is this movie, and it's a bit of a smaller movie. So I look at the Draft House, I look at AFS, and I love both of them dearly. But if it was playing at AFS, I'd probably go there because it's a nonprofit. But also, you got to understand, when I started my film, AFS, I think I started maybe a year before AFS acquired Austin Public. And you got to understand, like, I was kind of nobody from nowhere when I started making this film. Like, I didn't really have any contacts or anything, and they really just opened their arms to me. I mean the showcase that I did over there last time, they just
Mhm.
this is the second time they've given me one of their big theaters for free to show this thing. And I've gotten their grants, I've been part of their workshops. I did a works in progress screening with them. It's amazing how much they support film and filmmakers and support because there are a lot of film societies where you just show up and you watch movies like PFC, the Pacific Film Archive, or PFA, is really incredible if you go to like the Berkeley campus. But the thing I don't believe they have is a production arm of
Yeah.
that where they're
Teaching folks
supporting.
and like creative careers,
Uh-huh.
right? They've got actual
Yes.
mechanisms in place to move people from a want or desire to be a filmmaker to teach them to like have them work on productions and realize that dream.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, man, when I finish the film, I cannot wait to be done with the creative part of this, so I can just focus on, just the, submission process, but also just to being a full-time, just film lover. And, and a part of this community is what I can't wait to do. Is
You
just
know, I gotta
yeah,
tell you, I got a little like
chip.
it's a
Got a
chip.
little chip right here.
I got a chip.
So
I'm gonna tell you about it right
yeah,
now.
please do.
AFC stands for Austin Film Society.
AFS, yeah.
AFS.
Yeah.
AFS, sorry. AFS stands for Austin Film Society. And you say the word film a lot.
Hmm.
And here I am doing I don't know what we're calling this, a TV show, a blog. I don't know what we
That's the
call this.
beauty of the time we live in. It can be many things.
But it's definitely separate from a film. And so like I just want to be included. And this all stems from I remember driving with my kids back from New Mexico and they were telling me they were defining all the LGBTQ and I was going in detail with every definition because I just wanted to be in there somewhere. I
Well, I
was
think
like,
you'd
I'm
be an
kind of
ally.
odd,
You'd be an ally, I
but
believe. Yeah.
there's no A in there.
There is now. It's LGBTQIA. Yeah.
I think I'm an oddball. Like, can I be in there under queer? But they read the definition. It didn't seem like I fit under queer. It didn't seem like I fit and I just want to fit under AFS. And so I'm like, maybe I need to
I
restructure
think
this
you
into a
do.
film.
No. This is beautiful. You do not need to do that. The thing about if you restructure something into a film, you're putting it into a time constraint.
I just want to be a part of the community. I want
think
them to
you
like
are.
take me under their wing and be like, Phil, you're part of a filmmaker's lineage. But if I'm doing TV show, that's Austin Public.
Well, this is very interesting. So I'm going to go back a little bit and say that, first of all, one thing is just to go into the word film is I have older producers who, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they were very much into like, we're video people. We can't afford film. We're video people. So to say that we're filming something now is just an adjective that's the verb of shooting, because since we no longer concern ourselves with stocks, with film stock or tape stock.
Yeah.
It's just filming. And I actually have producers in the past who've been like, we didn't film it, we taped it. And I'm like, I don't care. And like, so, but the thing of that is though, that's also now extending to different things. I like to believe that the word film is now going to start to extend itself into making an audiovisual project. You're filming something.
That's my thing.
And also South by Southwest became the South by Southwest Film and TV Festival.
I can get in on that.
Sundance is the Sundance Film and TV Festival.
Yes.
Or at least they have a TV section. And so the thing is, though, AFS actually does a number of things that do revolve around television. They have a history of television series that they do where they bring in scholars to talk about TV. I really think, I'm pretty sure they have done events that do revolve around podcasts, or they've recorded podcasts there. I really think that the word film, that there is kind of a splintering or some tendrils that are going to have to grow out of that over time, because I'm with you. We're in the age of the miniseries where we have films but we also have basically like 6 to 8 hour long movies, I like to call them, which are what miniseries are.
Right, right.
And they're just as some of them are just as cinematic as any movie you're ever going to
Oh,
see.
absolutely.
Or
It's all like 8-hour movies that they happen to have cut into these chunks.
And it's a matter, and this is the thing that I feel like is the big question here, because it used to be there was a huge difference between film and TV. TV did not have the budget film did. And so even when you had a made for TV movie, it would be noticeably lesser
I
production
remember
value.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the whole thing is now we're bridging that gap. We have Game of Thrones, we have the new Shogun, we have all this stuff where the production value is as high as most movies you're going to see.
Yeah.
So now it's just a question of how much time do I have to put out this content? Okay? Is this going to be something that's a smaller story that's going to that's going to be better as a single movie? Or is this something where we're basing it on like a book or a memoir, which is a popular thing to do, and we're going to give them like 8 episodes
Yeah.
and we're going to be able to stretch that some more? Or is it something where we have no idea how long it's going to go on and we're just going to do it until our cast it's house. We're just going to do it until our guests are no longer our actors quit on us, like
do it for, like Cheers. We're just gonna do this for
exactly. So it's a matter of how much content, what the type of story is, and how much content supplies it. And there are some film people who hate me for saying that. They're like, "No, we're sacred. TV is not." I'm like, "Shut up. Go watch The Sopranos. Go watch The Wire. Go watch Mad Men, and tell
Yes.
me and tell
John,
me
you're
how."
letting me in. You're
It-
letting me in the group, and I appreciate
I
that.
hate that. I hate the pretentiousness. Okay,
Let me-
it's filmmaking no matter what.
You know what? You can't.
And what
say
you're doing
film.
is filmmaking.
You cannot.
You're filmmaking right now.
You cannot say film without saying Phil. Okay.
That's right. There's one Phil in filmmaking.
And it's right here.
There's no Phil in film. Yes, there is. No, but that's just kind of how I feel about that. That like I'm not pretentious, and I go through phases where I watch a lot more quote unquote TV or miniseries than I do movies, and I don't feel bad about that. And in fact, anyone that makes you feel bad about that is probably just their own insecurity. Like,
Yeah, we can't be shamed.
yeah,
People can't shame me for what I'm doing. I shame myself.
exactly.
That's my job.
Like, and that's the thing, and this is not Austin Film Society, it's just a film culture in general, which is no different than music culture, which is no different than, fine arts culture.
This can be
is
clicky.
it can be clicky, and it can also be a lot of people who are super insecure about making themselves vulnerable. And so they will do whatever they can to shame you and make you feel like you're worse. The thing is though, like what you're doing right now is making yourself vulnerable a million different ways. It's so easy to go to like a movie theater, watch a movie with a group of people, go to a bar later and just like school them about why they're wrong. It's so easy to look at somebody else's work
Yeah,
and
to
tell them how much they suck.
criticize.
You
It's
go
easier-
do it.
Yeah, it's easier to criticize, but we're out there. We're getting in the. We're getting out there in the field.
Yeah, you're making yourself vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it is difficult
It's-
to actually make something and put it out for other people to see and for other people to tear apart. It's difficult, man.
And there'll be plenty to tear apart, you guys. Y'all just wait. I'm gonna give all you hungry critics out there plenty to savor, and hopefully over time you'll see a arc
Mhm.
of
God, that's so cool.
of improvement.
That is so cool to like. Oh man, if you ever go and watch the original play, I saw it in England. It's a 2-person performance called "Of the Woman in Black," and it's basically this guy is instead of writing a memoir, he wanted to adapt his experience that he had with the woman in black, this ghost, into a play. So it's just him and this guy, a screenwriter, helping him write it, and it turns into a 2-person performance. And from the very beginning of the play, the guy who plays just the guy who experienced everything, who's not theatrically oriented, he's a terrible actor and he can't read anything. By the end of it, he's playing multiple characters, and it happens seamlessly.
Yeah.
And so I love the idea of building improvement into your arc. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's like, and people can go back to the beginning and just watch that. It's fun to watch that with things that aren't based around
I
improvement.
mean, I think that's really a big part of this. I've been editing all of these and then watching myself talk.
Good.
And so part of this is me improving as a speaker, improving as a conversationalist, improving as an interviewer, and it can be really cringe.
It can be, dude. I hate, oh my God, Zoom.
Oh my God.
Over Zoom when I had to record myself teaching students and then go back and watch. Oh,
Cringe. Okay, that's the end of our Phil Fails 5 questions for Phil Fails at Following Up.
good Lord,
It ends
that
right
alliteration.
there. Boop.